Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I am here to share all of the books I read in the month of September. I read 8, so it's a pretty good amount. Let's get into it. But first, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Book of the Month. Book of the Month, you guessed it, is an online book service for readers. Each month, their team vets hundreds of new titles and selects 5 to 7 of the best new and sometimes early releases for you to choose from. In fact, their mission is to help readers discover new books that they love and to promote the work of emerging authors. You can select your one book every month or more. And what's even great is they just recently launched their audiobook collection, which is great because I know there's a lot of people that prefer audiobooks over physical books. So that is a great new selection to this. So you can either pick a hardcover book or an audiobook. It is just like, it's just amazing. It's so amazing. And I love how each month there's a wide variety of genres. It's not like 5 romance books or 5 thriller books. Usually you get a wide array of genres each month. Usually there's a mystery thriller, there's a romance, sometimes historical, sci-fi, fantasy. They really try to expand different genres. And they're always focused on diverse reads as well, which is amazing. So now is a perfect time to get Book of the Month because they're offering a special discount this month. If you use the code SPOOKY at checkout, you can get your first book for only $5 this month. Like $5 for a hardcover, like run, don't walk, like go right now because this deal is not gonna last. It's the perfect time. There's some spooky selections this month. It is like, just go ahead and try it out because $5 for your first book for Book of the Month is just an astounding price. I love Book of the Month. I always love working with them. I love their service. I love their selections, and I'm excited about their selections this month as well. So the 2 books I chose this month, one I have actually already read, and that is The Unmaking of Pharaoh by Adrienne Young. This is a new adult book that's kind of fantastical, but I feel like I can't tell you much about it because it would be giving it away. But basically, it's a woman risks everything to end her family's century-old curse, solve her mother's disappearance, and find love in this memorizing novel. I loved it. It was it was written beautifully. The setting was great. I loved the element of surprise in it. Phenomenal book to read in the fall. Other book I picked out is definitely because it is spooky season, and that is Starling House. Look at this cover. This book is a gorgeously modern gothic fantasy. It's about a haunted house basically, and I love reading about a haunted house. Will I ever set foot in one? Absolutely not, but I will read about them all day long. So again, run, don't walk to this deal. If you use the code SPOOKY at checkout, you get your first book from Book of the Month for only $5. Like, don't pass that up. So thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring a portion of this video. Now on to all of the books I read in the month of September. So like I said, I read 8 books, and I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of them I don't even own. I read them on Kindle, so please forgive me. Always with these videos, I'm gonna start with my least favorite read, working up to my favorite read. 8's a pretty good month for me. I feel pretty solid in that. I felt like I didn't have a 5-star this month, which was kind of a bummer, but I did read a lot of books I enjoyed, and I read some that were just okay. So we're gonna start with those. The first one I will start with is a recent romance. It's an indie romance I read called Juniper Hill by Devney Perry, I believe. I gave this one a 3 stars. It's book 2 in the Eden series. I think each one follows a different brother. I don't know why I just started with Juniper Hill, probably because I love the title, Juniper Hill. But this is about a single mom, Memphis, who has a 2-month-old, and she lives in New York, but decides to start her life over in this very small town in Quincy, Montana. So she drives there and she gets a housekeeping job, and she stays in the garage apartment of this guy named Knox, who is the chef for this hotel that she works for, and you can connect the dots. It was cute, it was steamy, it wasn't super memorable, but I enjoyed it. Will I continue on the series? There's a good possibility. It was a great palate cleanser, I'll say that. So I'll probably save it for just that palate cleansing, which is, there's no shame in that at all. A lot of people love this series, and I can understand why, the draw to it with the setting in this very small town. It was definitely set in a small town, definitely had a fall winter vibe to it. So again, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was cute, it just wasn't very rememberable for me. Much like my next one, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore. I felt like the title of this and the author's name is Gilmore, so I was like, I feel like I have to read this, so I did. I found it on NetGalley, and again, it was okay. I gave it a 3 out of 5. This is kind of your typical kind of cozy romance, if you will. This one follows a character named Jeannie who basically has a very corporate job, and then she decides that she wants to take things slow, and so she kind of starts running her aunt's cafe called the Pumpkin Spice Cafe in this very, very small town in Dream Harbor. I will say it was very reminiscent of Stars Hollow, where everybody knew everybody. They helped each other out. They had like town hall meetings. It's one book I've read that I was like, this definitively gives me Stars Hollow's feeling. So if you're looking for that, I checked the book out, but it wasn't amazing. Like, it was a cute fall romance read that did have some steamy times in it, which I wasn't expecting, but it was okay. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's a good, again, palate cleanser, a good, cute romance, if you will. And we have The Coffee Shop of Curiosities by Heather Weber, another 3-star for me. I read this one because the cover intrigued me and the synopsis did. It was basically kind of like a cozy fantasy, I will say. This book follows a girl named Ava, who at the beginning of the book, she learns that her ex-boyfriend has passed away, and she mysteriously gets a letter like 2 weeks after he passes away, telling her about this job in like a small town, Alabama. And so she goes there and she goes to this woman that owns this kind of like coffee shop. And she's like, I wrote this job ad, but I threw it away. So it's all kind of like magical and mystical, if you will. But it doesn't really go farther than that as far as the magic goes. Again, it's set in a small town that is reminiscent of Stars Hollow again. So in case you're looking for books that are strictly for like Stars Hollow vibes, I would check out the Pumpkin Spice one and this one because, again, small town, everybody knows everybody, everybody helps out with everybody. But this one didn't have a lot of oomph to it. And the ending, I felt, was a little bit unrealistic, in my opinion. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. I just didn't love it. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Oh, look, we have a physical book here. I have All Roads here. I have All Roads Lead here by Mariana Zapata. This is my second book by her. You guys know I've talked about The Wall on Wind and Peg and Me like so many times. You're like, shut up, Heather. I won't. So I had to read this one because a lot of people recommended this one, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It definitely wasn't my favorite, but it was cute. This book follows a character named Aurora who is getting divorced, and she decides to start over, and she goes to where her mom and her lived when they were younger in this small town in Colorado because her mom had since passed away. And so she goes there and she rents out like an apartment through an Airbnb, and it's in this guy's Rhodes, like kind of detached garage apartment, and his son actually did the booking, but his dad never knew. So it's kind of Aurora and Rhodes do not have a good start. It's a very rocky relationship, but of course you can guess what goes from there. Mariana Zapata, in my opinion, is the queen of slow burn romance. As you can see, she's thick, and it takes a long time to develop their relationship, develop their feelings, but it's always worth the wait. Like, I feel like her relationships are very organic and happen in real time. So I don't feel like they're rushed at all. I do, you know, as a reader, I'm like, this, like, get together already, but she really makes them feel organic and realistic. So I love it. Would definitely recommend it. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Then we have a new release that everybody's talking about, and that is The Unfortunate Side Effects of Magic and Heartbreak by Brianne Randall. The cover of this one, Chef's Kiss, it was really good. I really did like it. I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was definitely very magical, I will say. Out of all the magical books I read this month, this one might be the most like kind of magical, if you will. This book follows a character named Sadie, who is a witch. Her family comes from a line of witches. They each have a different curse upon them. Sadie's curse is that she will have 4 big heartbreaks in her life, and then she will lose her magic, which she does not want to do because her magic to her is everything. She really puts it in her baking. Her grandmother and her have a shop together where they put like lavender and cinnamon, and those things like represent like fortitude and strength and things like that. And so Sadie's already had 2 of her big heartbreaks at the beginning of this book. First, she fell in love with this guy named Jake, and she did not mean to. It happened, you know, love. And he decides to leave, so boom, number 1 heartbreak. Number 2, her twin brother Seth also decides to move away at the whim, and that breaks her heart. And now she learns, does not spoil anything, that her grandmother is dying, so she knows it's going to be her 3rd heartbreak. So Sadie is very closed off in this book. You know, she does not want to open her heart up. She's afraid because her magic is all she has left. She's lost everything, but you know, now Jake's back in town and Seth's back in town. So it's all about her kind of opening herself up to love again. And it was a really good book. I did really enjoy it. I don't think it was anywhere near a 5-star for me, but the writing was really pretty, especially for a debut novel. And I loved how each, at the end of the chapter, included a recipe, and it gave a little paragraph before explaining, like, you know, this honey, like, you know, this recipe is used for fortitude to get your mind right. You know, things like that. I did really enjoy that aspect, and I'll definitely read more of what this author writes. So 3.5 out of 5. Then we have The September House by Carissa Orlando. This is a horror book. It's not super scary, but it's super scary. So in this book, we have a character named Margaret. And Margaret lives in her dream home. She finally bought it a few years ago. It's this beautiful Victorian like house with a turret, and it's just old school and fashion. And it's just beautiful. Only this house is straight up haunted, like haunted to the max haunted, like not just a little haunted, like you know, her husband and her live there, and it's been a few years, and there are ghosts all in this house. There's kids, and every September it gets badass crazy in this house. The walls will bleed blood, like it'll start from the 3rd floor and it'll just continuously drip down until September ends. The ghosts become a little bit more erratic. Like she even has like a housekeeper there that was a ghost. That she has a housekeeper there that's a ghost that was a housekeeper centuries ago that died, but she's a really nice friendly ghost. But when September comes around, this ghost loses her mind. She puts plates in the sink. She'll just drop them. She'll put blankets under the oven. You know, she just does it because there's a great kind of benevolent evil in this house that's in the basement. And you know, you think when you hear all this, like, why would you live here? Margaret's like, I worked hard for this house. I wanted this house. I am not leaving. So you persevere with Margaret. And you know, all of that sounds very scary with these ghosts. Sometimes these ghosts are very physically violent with Margaret. But the way this is written, it's written from Margaret's point of view, and Margaret has lived in this house for a few years. She's lived through a few Septembers. So this is just everyday normal stuff for Margaret. Sure, a ghost in the kitchen that might bite me, that's just Tuesday, you know. Oh, the walls bleed blood. We got like 2 more weeks and it'll be October, and then maybe it'll, you know, simmer down again. Will the screaming and moaning keep me up every night? Probably, but it's just like a whole, you know, it's just like, what? But she's so used to it, it makes you not as scared. I will say towards the end, like it was legitimately, I was like, oh my gosh, this is freaking bananas. But it was a fun time. I'd recommend it. A lot of people commented when I first started talking about this book, like they understand Margaret with this housing market in the day and age. If you get a good interest rate and a good house, you probably wouldn't leave either. So like, I don't know. It was a fun time. I would recommend it. Great for spooky season. Don't expect like really intense scares. I give it a 4 out of 5. Then we have The Unmaking of June Pharaoh by Adrienne Young. As you know, I read her book last year, The Spells for Forgetting. Loved it. I loved it. I love her adult books. This one, I did not give a 5 out of 5. I gave it like a 4 out of 5. It was good. It just wasn't quite there for me. So what I've been saying about these 2 books, Spells for Forgetting really pulled me in with the atmosphere. Like the atmosphere and setting was like its own character. The writing was very beautiful. It was kind of dark and dreary, and that really was amazing. The plot and the characters in that book weren't the best. Now, however, the plot and characters in this book, amazing. The setting and atmospheric kind of writing wasn't it for me. So it's like a hard time balancing. So this one's also a hard time for me to tell you what it's about, because there is a big plot point in this book that's not explained in the synopsis. I had no clue myself. That's best to go into it blind, really. So I'm not going to tell you much about it. I will say a woman risks everything to end her family's century-old curse, solve her mother's disappearance, and find love. So in this book, we have a character named June, and June is a pharaoh, and pharaohs kind of, they get sick at a certain age. They start hallucinating, seeing things, and her grandmother, at the very beginning of this book, her grandmother who has raised her, passes away from this. And June has actually been starting seeing things for a year now, so she's starting to get sick, and it kind of goes from there. And it's a beautiful book full of love, found family, what you would do for love. I just didn't love the setting and atmosphere as much, but still, Adrienne Young, I will read her adult books. I genuinely really enjoy them. Last book I have that is my favorite, which I was not expecting, is Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. So Rachel Harrison is a horror author, kind of like not scary horror, kind of like sarcastic, cynical kind of horror, if you will. I would put her in the same vein as like Grady Hendrix, where his books don't scare the crap out of me, but they scare me a little bit, and they're kind of satire-y. That's what I would call this book. This is my 3rd book by her. This book is freaking crazy. This is about a character named Vesper, and Vesper comes from a very different family. She has been out of the family for a while. She left her family's really religious kind of cult at 18, but she gets an invitation now at 26 to a wedding from her cousin that's still living there, and her cousin's marrying her first love, Vesper's first love, and Vesper's like, oh hell no, like I'm gonna go back and see what's up. You know, usually when you leave like things like this, you do not get invited back. You are disowned. They don't talk to you. You don't talk to them. That's just kind of how it goes. So Vesper goes back to this wedding, and there you learn that not only is her family like in a very strict religious cult, they're also they're Satan worshipers. They're in a satanic cult. I am not kidding. They would be like, hail Satan. And it just like, you're just like, what? And it just gets crazy from there. So from there, Vesper's back in kind of the fold. Her mother is an indie like horror actress who's into the very macabre. Like her whole house is gothic and Victorian, but has like props from her movie, like eyeballs, like a skeleton suit, like a real like straight up skin lamp. Like it is creepy as hell. But man, this book was fun and crazy and a lot. Vesper is very cynical. Vesper is very sarcastic. This is a book that you'll have to suspend your disbelief on. Like she does horror, kind of, like I said, satirical, funny. I really enjoyed it. It was a crazy, crazy book. You have to suspend your disbelief, but I had a good time reading it. 4.5 out of 5. Definitely my favorite Rachel Harrison book I have read thus far. So there you have all of the 8 books I read in the month of September. Overall, pretty good reading month. Now on to October for all of the spooky reads. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.